Hello! So, yeah, after all I said, I decided I was going to record 3 videos today because I have time before Mum comes back home and is loud. So, yeah. I'm reading The Cat Who Came In From the Cold by Deric Longden, still, but it's chapter 12 this time. I think it's just past halfway in the book. How many chapters is there in this book? There's 22 chapters. And double 12 is 24, so yeah, just past halfway. Thermal jammed his hip up against the wall to steady himself, while he tried to get his bearings. Then somebody moved the skirting board, and he was off, lurching across the carpet towards the hearthrug. "It's all right, Aileen, he's back." "Oh, good. I'm not sure about that." He wasn't going to make it to the hearthrug. He took the pretty route around by the newspaper basket, turned left at the coffee table under the desk, run smack into the video, and then asked. He swayed slightly and then began to back out of a cul-de-sac by the filing cabinet. Viewed head-on, he was now a pretty, if somewhat streaky, pastel pink. But the rear end that emerged from under the desk was painted in such vivid scarlet that it would have had those monkeys at the zoo going green with envy. I think they're called macaques. You're falling asleep, aren't you? You like my reading. Hmm? Yeah, I like my reading. You can stay there just as long as you don't try and jump over me again. Uh-huh. Yeah. What's that? So your ear. So your ear. Hey. Yes. I'm tired again now. Where is he? He's here, by my foot. Whew. Looked up at me and tried desperately to focus. He must have read my mind, because he sat down, stuck his leg up in the air, and tried to lick his bottom. It didn't work, and he fell over in a heap, his head on my foot. "Help." Aileen stood up and came over, trying not to tread on him in the process. "What's the matter? Is he all right?" "He's a bit off colour, that's all." She picked him up and plunked him on the shoulder, where she could see him. "Itchy goddamn leg again." It's all sticky. Sorry, he's all sticky. It's the damson wine. Does that sound better? Still the same, but I feel Megan. Or disgusting, for all of you who don't know what the word minging means. Go goddamn yawning. What? He's all sticky. It's the damson wine. They must have been standing by the fridge when it exploded. He had conquered his fear of the fridge and now spent a large proportion of his day staring at it and wondering why there wasn't a cat flapping the door. His bottom's very sticky. He hasn't got round to that yet. She took him over to the window where she could see him better and peered closely at his head. Is he pink? Yes, you should see the other end. It stuck to my sleeve. We peeled him off and laid him on the hearth rug. I spread a sheet of newspaper underneath him, but he didn't know much about it. Can you guess what I'm doing? Itching my goddamn leg. It's the same one as well. Oh. But he didn't know much about it. He was out to the wide. Do you think this happens to other cats? I shouldn't think so. He woke up 5 hours later with a hangover and tottered into my office with the middle pages of the Independent with the middle pages of the Independent stuck to his side like a billboard. What happened? It's a long story. I sat him in the sink and washed him down with fairy liquid. It's supposed to be kind to the hands, and I hoped it would be just as kind to paws and whiskers and bums. He struggled, but he wasn't really up to it. Mind my eyes. Shut up. Beg your pardon? It'll go in your mouth. Yuck. See, I told you. Aileen wasn't too happy about him being washed. People don't wash cats, she said. I could remember saying exactly the same thing to my mother the first time I watched her scrub whiskey in the sink. My mother used to say she was just dipping him like they do sheep. It doesn't seem right somehow. Listen to the woman. What do you suggest? Lots of hot coffee and walk him around the yard? Take no notice of her. The water was a dull plum colour when I lifted him out. Sorry if that sounds super disgusting, but I can't seem to talk properly. I'll breathe. So yeah. Frickin' yawns. The water was a dull plum colour when I lifted him out, but he still looked like a raspberry ripple. I dried him off and the towel came out in sympathy. I will take him outside for a minute. Give him some fresh air. Unfortunately for Thermal, we had an audience, and much worse than that, it appeared to be a large tomcat called Denton. Denton is the school bully. He's built like a bullock and fancies himself as a villain from the old cowboy days. He dresses completely in black from head to paw. I've often thought of introducing Denton to some of man's recent even, innovations, such as the machine gun or the air-to-ground missile. Somebody must love him, though for the life of me I can't understand why. He has the personality of a hyena, but none of the charm. In stark contrast, Thermal looked like a designer kitten as he hopped down the steps into the courtyard. There was just the faintest touch of a Busby Berkeley musical about the scene, as the as the pale winter sun picked out the pale pink kitten tripping lightly down the staircase, and only a moron would have failed to appreciate it. Denton wouldn't have appreciated it as he laid in ambush under the hydrangeas. He was more of a rugby league man himself. Thermal sat down on a paving stone, closed his eyes, and wondered why his head hadn't come down the steps with him. Should he go and fetch it? No, he was better off without it. I watched from the balcony, and he weaved his way towards his favourite burial ground, where the soil was soft and you could do things in private. He was just about to squat in the shade of a long-suffering azalea when he saw the dark shape of Denton lurking not more than a couple of yards away, and his battered little brain went into overdrive. That must be a cat. My mother told me about them. He'd probably only ever seen half a dozen cats in the whole of his short life. There was his sainted mother, of course, and his unmarried sister in Brighthouse. Brighthouse? God knows. His father was apparently on active service in the Persian Gulf, and Thermal had yet to be introduced. His brother Gordon was away at boarding school even. Then there were the 3 dustbin lounges I had pointed out to him from an upstairs window, but that must have seemed like a lifetime ago. I'll go and have a chat with him, make myself known. He strolled quite casually over to the hydrangeas and smiled broadly at the accident that was about to happen. It was then that I spotted Denton as he shifted slightly and licked his lips. I shouted a warning, "No!" The kitten stopped in his tracks, then turned and looked up at me. I'm not going to hurt him. He didn't stand a chance. By the time my feet hit the courtyard, Denton had finished with him, and Thermal lay in a crumpled heap on the paving stones. His ear was bleeding, and his fur had been rearranged, but it was his innocence that had taken the cruelest beating. He hadn't tried to run away. He couldn't believe that this was happening to him, that anyone would want to do this to him. And so he just lay there, wide-eyed on the stone slab, and tried to understand.